Hey everyone, welcome to Craving Something Scary, where it's all horror all the time. Now in this video, I'm going to discuss the recent comments from Matthew Lillard regarding his feelings on whether his character Stu Macher will return in Scream 7. Now I will explore not only the article where he was interviewed, but I will also explore his comments from last weekend at the Steel City Convention, where he was asked by a fan whether he would be back in Scream 7. Now, putting his comments together leaves us with some reasonable conclusions to be drawn. And if you happen to be on the Stu train, I will just say this: Stu, let's go!
Hey everyone, this is Christopher Landon, the director of Scream 7, and you're watching Craving Something Scary.
So let's start with a new article published in Entertainment Weekly featuring Matthew Lillard and his thoughts about Stu Macher in Scream 7. Now the article presents things in a pretty negative light when it comes to his potential return, but as I will explore and show, there is still some light to be found in his comments. Now, in the article, we read the following: the theory that Stu is alive in the Scream universe was reinforced by Jasmine Savoy Brown's Mindy Meeks Martin in this year's Scream 6. After Hayden Panettiere's character mentioned Macher's demise, she replied, "If you believe he's dead." So we all saw that in the movie. Clearly, the writers are giving us more clues, keeping the idea alive that Stu could be alive, no pun intended. Now later in the article, the writer asked Matthew if he thinks Stu will be back in Scream 7, and here's what he said. I don't think so, he says when asked about it by Entertainment Weekly. I mean, look, with what they're going through right now, I have no idea where that goes. If there's a world where it makes sense, then sure. I mean, they keep mentioning it. They keep tiptoeing around the outside. Now, what he said here makes complete sense. And he's given his honest thoughts. I don't think so. That's his honest feeling right now. But when he explains why he thinks that, honestly, I think anyone on the Stu train, I'm the self-professed conductor of the Stu train, and even I myself know it's a huge question mark in the air with Scream 7 because, like what he says here, look at what they're going through. I have no idea where that goes. None of us do. Of course, we speculate and we theorize, and we have a great time doing that. I love doing that, and it's very possible that one of these many theories that we discuss will end up being what happens. But at the end of the day, right now, none of us know. We don't know. We're not in the writing room with what James and hopefully Christopher are working on. And so everything is up in the air. We don't know if we're getting a reboot, if we're getting, half the core four back with Chad and Mindy, if we're getting Gail and Kirby back. Is Nev back? It was the real big question. None of those things have been answered. Excuse me, right now. So it's fair to say that because nobody knows. Everything is up in the air. What was originally, structured is out the window. And then he goes on to say, if there's a world where it makes sense, then sure. So a lot of folks are taking this first part, what I'm seeing on social media, they're taking the first part where he says, I don't think so. And that's kind of like the headline. And I understand, it certainly is worthy of knowing and talking about, but it's not the whole picture. Because he turns right around and says, if there's a world where it makes sense, then sure, talking about Stu coming back. And then he goes on to say, I mean, they keep mentioning it. They keep tiptoeing around the outside, which is kind of alluding back to what I read earlier about, the comment from Mindy in the movie, if you believe he's dead, and other clues and little breadcrumbs that they put in Scream 5 and 6, if you're really paying attention, that point to Stu being alive and possibly returning. So at the end of the day, Matthew's comments really can be summarized, in my opinion, as just saying here, I don't know. That's really what he's saying. I don't know. I don't think so, but there's a big but there. But sure, if it makes sense, then sure, bring him back. So it really comes back to just knowing what we don't know, which is we have to wait and see, right? We're all going to wait and see. But clearly, the door for him to coming back is not closed from his perspective. Otherwise he would have come right out and said, I don't want to come back. I don't want to return to Stu. I want to leave that in the past. He doesn't say anything like that. He's very open right here in this paragraph, just saying, sure, I'll come back if it makes sense. Now, later, Matthew also publicly calls out the studio and the writers and kind of puts them on notice regarding whether Stu's going to be in this, trilogy. And he says the following. He says, regarding whether Mocker is alive or dead, he says, quote, I hope they put it to bed one way or the other, he continues. So he himself is ready for either, put up or shut up, because like he says, they sure do tiptoe around it. They talk a lot about Stu in these movies. So he himself, I think, is ready for them to either pull the trigger, bring him back, let's do this finally, or say no definitively in this timeline at least. Doesn't mean he's, dead in other timelines, but in their current timeline, James and Guy, that he is dead, then just say that. But they're not. They're leaving that door open into the last two movies. And Matthew Lillard's well aware of it, and that's what he's talking about here. So, that is what he said in the Entertainment Weekly article. And I just wanted to share my thoughts on that because it is not definitively that Stu's not coming back. He's literally saying he does not know, but he'll come back if it makes sense. So, there you go. Now, I'm not done yet, though. Don't go anywhere, because last weekend at the Steel City Convention, their Scream panel was up, and he was asked by an audience member if he was returning in Scream 7, and here is his actual response.
Are you going to be in Scream 7?
If I said yes, wouldn't that be incredible? If I was in Scream 7, I would never say yes. I don't think so. They've never called me. I don't think they give a shit. Although they talk about Stu a lot.
So here Matthew says, I love it. If I said yes, wouldn't that be incredible? And then he makes the point that we all need to remember, and it's very, very important. He says, if I were in Scream 7, I would never say yes. I mean, and that's exactly right. He would never say yes. So he's going to have to say no. And then, of course, he follows it up by saying what he said in the article. He said, I don't think so. Then he adds and says, they've never called me. I don't think they give a blank, although they talk about Stu a lot. Yeah, so, again, he says right at the beginning, if I were in it, I would never say yes. And then he turns right around and says, I don't think so. They never called me, which is what you're going to say. Even if they had called him, he's going to keep that. He's going to keep that under wraps. I mean, this is what he's going to say. Now, it could be true. He could be being completely honest here. And again, they may not have called him yet. I mean, with the status of Scream 7 the way it is, as I mentioned earlier, everything's up in the air. I mean, it is literally unknown right now with everything that's going on. So it's possible he's not gotten a call yet. Very much so. And you know what? He may not be in Scream 7. And I've always said, look, if he's not in this trilogy, it doesn't change anything. It doesn't change the fact that he's still alive. It doesn't change the fact that he could be in Scream 8. That doesn't change any of that. It's just trying to figure out what's going to happen with the current film, 7, which nobody knows right now. At least no one outside of that writing room and the producers know. But just remember that too. He would never say yes. He would never admit to it. He would always deny it. And so that denial does not mean that he won't be in it. Just think of Andrew Garfield. It's the same scenario. All right. So it is really no difference. So guys, I just want to leave you with this thought, with considering all these things that he said, and he's really just saying publicly, he's saying he doesn't know what's going to happen, but he's definitely open to coming back. And that's the most important thing. As long as Matthew's willing to return, and he said here in the article, if it makes sense, then sure, he'll come back. So as long as that's his attitude, there's always a chance they could write him in. Absolutely. So if you're on the Stu train, keep the faith, keep rolling, don't worry. Nothing's really changed at all regarding the Stu train from Matthew's comments. He's just stating the obvious. We don't know what's going on with all that's happening with 7 right now. The turmoil that's going on with Spyglass. Nobody knows. But if he does know, he already admitted right here, he would never admit that he was in it. So you got to take it with a grain of salt, man, because, again, Andrew Garfield, that's all I got to say. This is what we're looking at potentially. So that's where I'm cashing out. I mean, again, nothing to me has changed. Everything is full steam ahead, and I'm still holding out hope. I think it's reasonable to hold out hope at this point still for Scream 7 that he could make an appearance. And if they get Nev back, if they announce that Nev is signed on, then I think the chances of Stu coming back exponentially increase. They go up even higher. So we'll just have to wait and see, though, right? Over the coming weeks, months, we'll eventually start getting some news about casting and different things. I'm sure will come out over the course of the next couple of months, hopefully. So we will see. And again, be sure you subscribe to the channel. Bell icon is hit for notifications, as I will keep you informed the minute I hear of any news whatsoever. All right, everyone. I want to know, what do you think now about Matthew Lillard's comments regarding the possible return of Stu Macher in Scream 7? I want to know what you're thinking. What ideas do you have about this, and any theories you have about Stu Macher? So start leaving your comments below right now in the comments section so we can discuss it together. Remember, I will only know your ideas and your thoughts if you leave them here in the comments. It's the only way I'll know, and the only way that everyone else will know. So share. All right, guys, that's all for this update. I'll be back soon, though, with more Scream and other horror movie content. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, this is Craving Something Scary, where it's all horror all the time. Thanks for watching.